because it is a big problem with IB, especially when it rains. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Bilbray.
Well, clean water is a tough issue because while you're working, you have the U.S. on one side, and you have the Mexico on the other. And Mexico really has been dragging their feet. So I believe you really need to work with Wild Coast, and you need to really start working with the local politicians of the area in order to start holding some people's feet to the fire. They're coming really close with the sewage treatment plants that they've been building, but we have a long way to go. But I believe the more that we talk about it, just like the immigration issue, the more we talk about it, the more somebody's going to do something about it. I guess we're all going to sit on that.
Thank you. Ms. Bragg.
Thank you. I think this question comes up every election cycle. And nothing much has changed. But then again, a lot has changed. Mexico has really stepped up to the plate. If you were to take a tour of some of the treatment plants that they've built down there, you would be absolutely amazed. So it's not that they don't want to. They're constrained by dollars as much as we are. There's a lot that you can do individually. Take washing your car. If you wash your car in the road, all that runs down into the storm drain. That goes right out onto our beaches. So and I had this question last time, and I remember somebody said there's not I can do personally. That was an incorrect statement. There's a lot we can all do personally.
Thank you. Mr. Paul Brown.
Working with the council and the citizens of Imperial Beach, and then also working with different cities. I know in the last week or so, our Mayor Jerry Sanders was down and meeting with the Mexico government down here in San Diego, and they also went back to Washington, D.C. And I'm sure that was one of the issues that they brought up when they were in Washington and down here meeting too, as well as the water quality too. So working with them and our council here in Imperial Beach to really improve our water quality is something will be one of my priorities.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Jack Fisher.
Having grown up here and spending lots of time in the water surfing, I obviously have this as the biggest concern. One of the things that I think is important is, like Ms. Bragg said, that we need is the involvement of the community. I'm not saying that we go out there with our shovels and our sandbags, but I think that we need to have our voices heard. Our federal government controls quite a bit of what happens down at the treatment plants. We need to make sure that those who are our leaders, our elected officials, hear our voice and they know it. We all know what the water quality is. It's not nearly what we'd like it to be. However, there are places in San Diego that suffer the same problem to a greater extent. I'm not downplaying what we have here in our own backyard, but I think that most of us need to just make our voices heard. That is the key for us to improve our image. There's people who still think IB is the brown trout capital of the world. It's not. It is a great place. And yes, we do suffer from time to time with contaminated water. However, it's nothing unnormal.
Thank you. Mr. Jim Janney.
And I agree with Ms. Bragg that this does come up every time we have an election cycle. I think, as being your mayor for the last 4 years on the council, we've reached out to the country of Mexico and specifically the Tijuana region. Recently, I took a tour of 2 of the new power plants down in Mexico. They were building the 3rd, and I think they have a 4th coming online. The fact that we're getting the secondary treatment at the border. But I think as a mayor, you have to look at who you reach out to and you bring it. I've made a couple of those trips representing Imperial Beach as well as South County to Washington, D.C. And to meet with the ambassadors of Mexico are the most important things for them to understand where we are, because Mexico is Mexico City, and the Tijuana region has such a hard time getting attention. But as such as our state senator has brought up the issue of tires, there's a lot of little play in what comes into the trash in the river. It's not purely sewage, it's the trash. And we've been able to get money to help the people in Mexico fix their tire problems. And I think it's to reach out to all the different people.
Thank you. Mr. Tim O'Neill.
Living here my whole life, I've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly when it comes to the sewage problem. Personally, I think it's time that the federal government steps up. We have a beautiful estuary that doesn't get a lot of credit because of the sewage problem. That's my opinion. But it's time to scream, rant, and rave, and we need to get the federal government down here to come up with any kind of solution. If you have trash problem, if you have tire problems, there needs to be new technology to trap that stuff. This is beyond the scope of what IB can handle as far as money goes. We need the federal government to step in. We need, as a city council, as a city, all of us to band together. We still need education on this side and south of the border, but we really do need to get it out there to the feds that, hey, enough is enough.
Thank you. Mr. Ed Spriggs.
Although this is a runoff problem, there's a secondary aspect of this, and that is the binational aspect of it, and the fact that a lot of the pollution comes from Mexico, as has been pointed out before, and as we all as Imperial Beach residents know. I've had a lot of experience in the past dealing with transnational issues. For 22 years, I worked as a senior Foreign Service officer with the U.S. Agency for International Development. The most recent period before I came to Imperial Beach, I worked in regional issues involving shared natural resources between countries. This requires a lot of intergovernmental skill, a lot of negotiating skill, and figuring out who the people are who can make a difference. And I think it takes a lot of aggressive attention, including focus on our representatives, our Washington, D.C. representatives, to get action out of the federal government. So I think a consolidated effort and persistence is what we need here.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Robert Taylor.
It's been said this is an issue that's been around for a long, long time. And there are two aspects of this. There's the one aspect of the runoff, which is there's nothing that I can do about that as a city councilman. That's something that we all have to do as far as the runoff goes. The washing the cars in the driveway and the throwing things in the gutter that all wash down. That's something that everybody's going to have to do something about. When we talk about the water in Imperial Beach, I don't think that's really what we're referring to. We're referring to the runoff from the Imperial Beach, from the 210 sewer system when it rains and overflows. I don't have much time, so I'm going to make this quick. This is something that's going to have to be resolved by reaching out to the government for help on this. I was around when Mr. Bilbray's father took the tractor and tried to close up the mouth there to stop it. We finally got a little attention from that little fiasco. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And Ms. Jennifer Welsh.
Hi. I'm really excited because this issue is a great example of what the incredible people of Imperial Beach can do, whether they get a lot of consent or not. Wild Coast is a great institution in our community. They have put so much effort and so much energy into understanding this problem. And yes, it's really neat that the federal government, the government in Mexico has put together the third plant will be coming online in January. But there's also our side. And I don't need to be an expert, but you do need to listen to the experts. That's the great thing about this. There are people who have plans, who have all of the plan already written out. But we just need to look at it. And we need to validate what they're saying, and we need to go forward with the plan with our energy. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question will be led by Mr. Brian Bilbray. What economic development projects are your first priority and why?
Well, the first would probably be Seacoast Inn. Without that inn bringing people into our city, the outside money into our city, the businesses around Seacoast and Palm Avenue are really struggling. Every year that hotel is not up and running, they're losing a lot of money. Second would probably be the Palm Avenue development. Having more shops for the citizens of Imperial Beach to support the economy of Imperial Beach. Get more sales tax revenue into the city, which will help our budget out.
Thank you. Ms. Lori Bragg.
Well, any of you that know me know that my first and foremost redevelopment project would be the Seacoast Inn. We've fooled around with that project for 10 years. I don't know how you guys feel, but when I saw that thing actually coming down, I stood there and cried. I couldn't believe it. The real thing is going to be seeing if it goes up, if they really do come forward and build it for us. It's an awesome project, and I work close to there, and I'm just amazed at the number of people who are going down there just to watch it come down. That alone, what that represents for our community and what it has represented in its dilapidated state, the detriment, just the absolute blight, and the actual loss of dollars that it represents for our businesses should be everybody's first concern. After that, pick a project, I'll get behind it. We need 9th and Palm. We need Seacoast and Ivy Boulevard. Just pick a project. This community needs redevelopment to bring visitors to our community.
Thank you. Mr. Paul Brown.
Thank you. Seacoast Inn definitely will be a priority because during Sandcastle Week that we can fill that hotel up and bring more people to Pearl Beach. At the same time, 9th and Palm, so we can bring more small businesses here to Pearl Beach will be an awesome thing that I would like to help out in and make happen.
Thank you. Mr. Jack Fisher.
One of my biggest concerns is the 9th Avenue and Palm development. Many of you may not know this, but it's 20 feet next to my house. And so, as a resident, I want to encourage all the other residents to never mind the dust, to see the vision that has already been set in motion. That includes